I hope this video is more thought-provoking than it is offensive. And no doubt that the message that I'm presenting right now to the audience that I'm trying to reach, it will at first be offensive. But I always say that truth is much like throwing water on the person that's fast asleep. It's going to make you angry at first, but in the end, it woke you up. We have two sides here. We have Israel and we have Egypt. We have Moses and we have Pharaoh. The allegories that are found in the story of Passover and that of Israel and Egypt are astounding. They can't be missed. You have two distinct sides. Both are being used for a common purpose. In God's infinite wisdom, He can use the evil and He can use the good. He can use the unrighteous, He can use the righteous, all for His purpose, even if they don't realize it. In fact, God told Pharaoh that he was lifted up for this very purpose. Even though Pharaoh wouldn't listen to Moses, God said that He was using Pharaoh and lifted him up for this purpose, that his name would be proclaimed throughout all the earth, and that all the world would know that the God of Israel, Jehovah, is God and there is none else.
For now I will stretch out my hand, that I may smite thee and thy people with pestilence, and thou shalt be cut off from the earth. And in this very deed, for this cause I have raised thee up, and for to show in thee my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. And yet exaltest thou thyself against my people, that thou wilt not let them go?
So you have to understand here that God's name is very important. It's so important that Moses, when he was given the task of leading the people out away from Egypt under Pharaoh's hand, Moses asked, he said, well, who should I say that I'm sent by? Who should I say sent me? And this is God's response.
And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come to the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say unto me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. And God said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Jehovah, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Now, as I've mentioned before in other videos, I briefly just want you to know that in today's biblical translations and versions, God's real name, His actual name that is actually used over 7,000 times, has been replaced with the generic the Lord, or in Jewish Bibles, named Hashem, which means the name. This is not God's name. This is not the name that God gave to Moses that he should come in the name of, that all the world would know for all generations. God makes it very clear that this is my name forever, and this is my memorial, this is my remembrance, this is my mention for all generations. And it's this story of Passover and the story of Israel and Egypt and the division at this time that God is using to show the world that He is God, there is none else. That's why it's important to know His name. So now we have Egypt versus Israel, Moses versus Pharaoh, the meek versus the proud. It's all set up. It's like a chess match. It's being presented right now. We can see it unfolding in the story. One of these leaders is trying to hold Israel captive, while the other is trying to lead them out of captivity. They're trying to lead the people back so that they can serve the God of Israel. One knows His name, the other does not. One is obedient, one is not obedient. In fact, so much so that when Moses comes in the name of Jehovah and he tells Pharaoh that he comes in the name of Jehovah and that he should let the people go, this is Pharaoh's response.
And afterward Moses and Aaron came and said unto Pharaoh, Thus saith Jehovah, the God of Israel, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, Who is Jehovah, that I should hearken unto his voice and let Israel go? I don't know Jehovah, and moreover I will not let Israel go.
Most pastors today do not know the name of Jehovah, and so much so that if you came in the name of Jehovah, they would say the same thing that Pharaoh just said. I don't know Jehovah, and I'm not going to let you have the people out of my hand. Although the true prophets of today are trying to do what Moses did, and that is to say, let my people go that they may serve Jehovah. You're holding them captive. Now, Egypt, or the church known as today, knows the name of the Lamb, Jesus, and this is the God that they represent. And it's by design that this is set up, because the God of Egypt at the time was the Lamb. They worshiped the Lamb. They had many other gods, and this is a fight of monotheism versus polytheism, many gods versus one God. And God is using this as the piece, as the story that He will use to show all the world that He is God, there is none else.
And Moses said, It is not meet to do so, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Jehovah our God. Lo, we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us?
Moses is here telling Pharaoh, look, we're going to go and sacrifice the Egyptian God unto our God. that's going to be offensive unto you guys. So you need to let us go, and we're going to take the lambs, we're going to take the livestock, and we're going to go sacrifice your gods unto our God in the wilderness. And how should we do that? You're going to stone us, you're going to kill us. And so this was deemed highly offensive unto Egypt, as you can imagine. It was for this very cause that there was always a separation between the Hebrews and the Egyptians. The worshipers of the God of Israel were seen as offensive because they were shepherds. And why is that so important? Because the shepherds were actually tending to the flocks that the Egyptians saw as gods. So it was really offensive unto them. And so while the Hebrews were living in the land of Egypt, in a foreign land, under the role of Joseph as the leader, they were given a separate land, the land of Goshen. It was one of the best lands to live in, but it was also a land that was separated from the Egyptians so that they could dwell in peace and safety because they were shepherds. And if you'll recall, this is why Joseph actually told his brethren and his family when they came up out of Canaan into the land of Egypt, Joseph was trying to give them a safe place to live in the land of Goshen. So what did he do? He told them to tell Pharaoh that they were shepherds for this very purpose. Joseph knew that if he told Pharaoh that they were shepherds, then they would dwell in the land safely in the land of Goshen. And they did so until the time of redemption and the time of the Exodus. We have to also understand that these 10 plagues, these 10 judgments that God used, were all judgments against the gods of Egypt at the time. You got to understand during this time that Egypt thought that there was many gods. They thought that there was a god of the wind. They thought that there was a god of the sky that controlled the weather. They thought that there was a god of the cattle. They thought that there was a god for everything that controlled different aspects of the world. And so God was using Moses to lead the people out of Egypt under the ideas of polytheism, back into the idea that God, Jehovah, is the God of Israel, and there is none else beside him. So God needed to use these 10 plagues to show not only Egypt his power, but also to give confidence in the people of Israel that God is able to keep you safe as long as you place your trust in him. And so his power was made known through these 10 plagues, and in the end, the people of Egypt and the people of Israel all together would know that Jehovah, the God of Israel, is God and there is none else beside him. But how did he do this? God said he would harden Pharaoh's heart. Take a look.
And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, and Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine enemies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Jehovah, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel among them.
So now we can see that these 10 plagues, these judgments that God is using, is all meant for a greater purpose. He's using it to show the people that he is, there is none else, and that these judgments are being used against all the gods of Egypt.
For I will go through the land of Egypt in that night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Jehovah.
So when we see these 10 plagues, we're going to see each time that God is using these plagues to show that he's controlling every single one of them. One by one, he starts showing his power, and to let the people of Egypt know that he controls all these things, and also to let the children of Israel have confidence in him. By the time these 10 plagues are over, Egypt will have no doubt that Jehovah, the God of Israel, is controlling everything, and that there is no 10 gods or 15 gods or any idea of multiple gods, but rather there's one God, and that Egypt would know that the God of Israel is the true God. So as the plagues continue, Pharaoh's heart is continued to be hardened. And for this purpose, because most people, when they saw 2 or 3 plagues, they may have given up and let the people go so quickly. But God says he will harden Pharaoh's heart for this purpose. God needs to get through all these plagues so that he can show his power and his might. And he can't do that if Pharaoh gives in too quick. So he hardens Pharaoh's heart. He lets him endure. It's like when you see a boxer and you say he has heart. What he's doing is he is not giving up in the fight. That is exactly what God is doing with Pharaoh himself in hardening his heart so he can endure to the end of these 10 plagues so that all the people at the time would know who the true God is. And this brings us to the very last plague, which I believe is of the utmost importance with relevance to today and the time that we're in. The plague of the firstborn and of the Passover lamb. Understand that God says that Israel is his firstborn son.
And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith Jehovah, Israel is my son, my firstborn. And I have said unto thee, Let my son go, that he may serve thee, that he may serve me. And thou hast refused to let him go. Behold, I will slay thy son, thy firstborn.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I'm going to do to you what you're doing to my child, my firstborn son. So if you won't let my firstborn son go, Pharaoh, then I'm going to take your firstborn son. All throughout Egypt, The death of the firstborn will take place, but not to those that would actually use the Passover lamb and mark their doors with the blood of the lamb. God is in control of all life. As he's already shown in these other 9 plagues, he controls it all. And what other greater way to show Pharaoh, the leader of Egypt, that he controls all life also? He gives, he takes away. He is the creator, and he gives and he takes away. And now, this sets the stage for the line drawn in the sand. This is of the utmost relevance for today. Egypt, Israel. Moses, Pharaoh. Monotheism versus polytheism. The Egyptians' god to be sacrificed in the wilderness was the lamb. Egypt saw the lamb at their time as one of their deities. As mentioned before, this is why Israel and the Hebrews were so offensive unto Egypt, because they were actually taking care of the Egyptians' deity. So there was always a separation. They wouldn't even eat with them. So they lived in the land of Goshen, separated from the people of Egypt at the time. So what does God tell Israel to do to ensure loyalty to him after these 9 great plagues? He tells them to take the deity of Egypt, the lamb, and kill it in front of all the Egyptians. And not only that, in a very provocative move, he says to take the blood and put it on the doorpost that night.
Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, a year old, and you shall take it from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at even. And they shall take of the blood and put it on the 2 side posts on the lintel upon the houses where they shall eat it. For I will go through the land of Egypt in that night, and I will smite the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Jehovah, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and there shall no plague be upon you to destroy you. When I smite the land of Egypt, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast unto Jehovah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
So the ones that were protected that night were the ones that had the blood of the lamb on the doorposts. This was an act of loyalty unto the God of Israel, showing that they don't worship the deity of Egypt, but rather they have chosen the God of Israel, Jehovah, who was, who is, and will be, as his very name in Hebrew suggests. Those that worship the Egyptian deity, the lamb, would never do such a thing. Why? Because they worship the Egyptian deity. And this is where the line is drawn in the sand. Those that worship the lamb and those that worship the God of Israel. The question comes down to, who is your God? Who are you serving? When the redemption comes, you have to choose Jehovah or the Lamb. It's one or the other. No man can serve 2 masters. This is what Elijah preached. You cannot serve 2 masters. You can't serve Baal and Jehovah. You have to choose. You cannot serve the Lamb and Jehovah. This is known as his great day. This is when all the world will know that he is God and there is none else.
And I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. And the nations shall know that I am Jehovah, saith Lord Jehovah, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes.
All of this is coming down to this one great day that Jehovah, the God of Israel, will be known in the sight of all the world. And then there will be no more doubt. No one will bring up the names of other gods anymore. There will be no more doubt that Jehovah, the God of Israel, is the true God. And just as Egypt learned the hard way due to their stubborn hearts, that he is the creator and he is the king of this world, and that he took us out of Israel on that day, and there was no other God with him. It was just him. There was no God with him, neither shall there be after him. He is, and there is none else beside him. And we are commanded for this reason to always remember this ordinance from year to year, to remember the time that we came out of Egypt, that God showed us that he is, and there is none else beside him. It was to us, it was to Israel, to be shown and to complete our purpose to let all the world know that Jehovah, the God of Israel, he's the true God. There is no other God beside him. This is the purpose of Israel. This is why God chose these miraculous miracles and these plagues to show Israel. And then after that, we would bear this story and teach it to all the other nations. We are representatives of him. We bear his name on our chest. God says that every man that is called by his name, he has created for his glory. He has made him. And this is what we were told by Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 4. He said, unto you it was shown that you might know that Jehovah is God in heaven above and the earth below. There is none else beside him. As Isaiah chapter 43 verse 7 through 11 says, as our mission statement is, we are his witnesses and his servant he has chosen, that we might let the world know that he is God and there is none else beside him. So when the people claim a trinity, a triune God, we are supposed to be the representatives to combat these types of doctrines. We are supposed to be the ones to say, no, not so. We were shown on Mount Sinai, we were shown in the time of the Exodus that Jehovah, he's the one that gave these 10 plagues, these great judgments against all the polytheistic ideas of Egypt. There is no other God other than Jehovah. So when you hear people saying that Jesus is God and that we should worship the Lamb, this is why this story is so powerful, because we don't worship the Lamb, we worship Yehovah. And in an act of loyalty unto Yehovah, we show that we are willing to forsake the God of Egypt in front of everybody. And that God says, because of your loyalty to me and you using the token of the blood on the doorposts, I will take you out of Egypt and bring you back to the land of Israel that I promised your forefathers I would give you. And so if we've done that, if we have held fast to this ordinance right here, when the time comes, God will not suffer the destroyer to enter into our houses, but rather he will protect us and he will bring us out quickly and safely that night back to the land of Israel. And as you can see here on the screen in Exodus chapter 13, it says that this ordinance should be just as if we were to wear it as a sign on our hand and as a memorial between our eyes, as something that we wear proudly when we perform this act. And when we perform the act of keeping the Passover, this is what is showing our loyalty to him. It's like a sign that we wear in our hand and a memorial between our eyes, that we remember that Yehovah keeps his promises and that on that night God said he would bring us out from the land of Egypt and bring us back to the land of Israel. So I leave this video asking you, are you Egypt? Are you Israel? Are you Moses? Are you Pharaoh? Are you leading the people into captivity? Are you holding them captive? Or are you leading them out of captivity as Moses did? It's your choice. You can always make the decision. But God says that even if he is hardening your heart and saying, no, I don't know Yehovah, and neither will I let the people go, it's going to be for his greater glory no matter what. But I ask you to just make the decision to make Yehovah your God and do as Israel has done already themselves, and that is, we don't worship the Lamb, we worship Yehovah. And that's what this ordinance of Passover is kept as from year to year, to show our loyalty to him. And we have to be willing to forsake everything we have. And I would also say that if you remember the time of the Exodus, many of the Egyptians left with Israel that time too. There was a mixed multitude. So for somebody to say that was for the Jews, that's not for us, or that's for Israel, not for us, it's your choice whether or not you want to be a part of Israel or not. But you have to circumcise your heart, and you have to be able to come into obedience of the covenant, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from.
Isaiah 45:21, declare ye and bring it forth. Yea, let them take counsel together, and have shown from this ancient time, who hath declared it of old? Have not I, Yehovah? And there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me.
So I thank you for watching this video. I hope that the answer is clear now that Yehovah, he is God, there is none else, and it's your choice. You can be Egypt or Israel. The choice is always in your hands. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again on another video.